Greetings, this is Professor Corder. I'm going to speak to you a little bit about the syllabus. The syllabus is important, of course, because it's a kind of living document between you and me, although there are legal components to it, as we saw in spring 2020. These are more like guidelines for our class. So I reserve the right to some level of flexibility since none of us can really see the future and we have no idea what's going to happen over the next several months. Obviously, the pandemic is the great example of this, but many other things could go down. So we don't know what's going to happen. So I reserve the right to some level of flexibility in case we need it. In fact, that I had to flip this class to a remote class rather than 7 in-person classes 2 weeks before the semester started, I think speaks to this. So I'm going to go through the syllabus. If you go onto your Canvas site and you pull up this class, you can see over here on the left-hand side the syllabus. If you click on the syllabus, it'll open up for you, and I'm going to roll through at least some of the highlights of this. So first, let's just make sure that we understand that the only thing you really need to have is some version of an atlas, which you could probably even use an online atlas that will help, especially over the first few weeks of the semester. After that, it won't be quite as necessary, but it would be really helpful if you had that. Other than that, the lab exercises have been mailed to you, and they're also in PDF forms on the modules, so you should be able to just pull those up and take a look at them or have the hard copies. Geography 101L may be used towards meeting the requirements for the Rancho Santiago Community College Plan A, general education requirement for the Natural Sciences A category, the CSU Plan B transfer requirement for scientific inquiry and quantitative reasoning, laboratory activity B3, and the AAT-ADT, and the IGETSI, which is the UC system, Plan C transfer requirement for Area 5 Physical and Biological Sciences Laboratory Activity Group C. The instructor, which is me, reserves the right to modify this course overview if needed. In this time of great uncertainty, which of course is what we're living in, please be completely aware that this class has been transferred to a remote instruction mode owing to the circumstances and the situation that no longer permits the maximum safety regulations to be adhered to in a face-to-face setting. Your cooperation and understanding of the dynamics in play at this moment in history really are greatly appreciated. Here's the student learning outcomes, the DSPS statement. If you're DSPS, contact the office and the DSPS office, and they'll work through that with us. Regular attendance. So even though this is a remote class, you nevertheless need to be signing in at 12:15 on Mondays and going through the class with us, with all of us, the lab. There's a lab schedule that I'll show you in a minute that shows you what we're going to be going through. Your course grade will be based on the following things. So weekly lab exercises worth 15 points each. One lab will be dropped, and the drop lab will be the lowest score, regardless of whatever that score is resulting from an absence, whether it's resulting from an absence or poor performance in the lab or whatever it may be. There will be no reteaching of labs, although because I'm going to do this on conferences with you, along with maybe videos from time to time, like you can see the first week we're going to have a video. If you click on conferences when you log on, this is where we're going to be each time we meet on Mondays. Click on that, join the conference, and you're going to see that there's a presentation that I'm going to present to you synchronously. At the same time, Canvas records these for 2 weeks, so you can go back and watch them all over again if you want to do that. That's the reason I do it on conferences rather than doing this on Zoom, which has, many issues from time to time that I don't really want to deal with. And because conferences can be recorded, I think it's a win-win for everybody involved, especially you guys. If we continue on here, each time we do a weekly lab exercise, following that, there's going to be a quiz. It's also on modules. You just open it up and you take the 15-point quiz. And it's about what we did. Like, for example, the first lab, what's going to happen is I did some water tests for you. As you'll see, I don't want to explain it all right now, but I did some water tests for you, and then you're going to answer questions on it. You'll find the information about that at the end of lab 3. So the third lab, not the first lab, lab 3 is towards the back. I think it's exercise 3.7. That's what we're going to work through. Then in addition to that, there's a 100-point midterm exam and there's a 100-point final exam. Basically, this is a straight scale. As you can see, exams will not be dropped. If you perform poorly on an exam, it cannot be retaken. And that would be a lab too. You can't retake the lab if you perform poorly, but the lowest one will be dropped. Absences cannot be made up. Neither the midterm nor the final exam can be made up, and both must be taken at the time and the hour assigned. You can see the holidays here. We have a holiday on Labor Day, the 7th of September, but that's really the only one. The final exam is going to be on Monday, December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. My father was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed, interestingly enough. He's not alive anymore. And then you can see that you can record your grades all the way along here, so you have a pretty good idea. But Canvas does this itself every time you take anything that's graded on a Canvas. If you go to grades, it'll show up on there. I'm not going to click on it because other people's names are on there, and I don't want you to see that. Then if you look down here we have the lab schedule, which was mailed to you along with the syllabus. But if you look, you can see August 24th, Introduction to Lab Course, Tap Water Tour and Analysis, derived from Lab 3, which is what we're going to do. The following Monday, geographic grid and latitude, longitude, and so on as we go all the way through this. That's our semester, really, right there. Okay, there's a picture of me. You'll see me in that first lab video anyway. A little information about me if you were curious about it, some stuff about the class. All right, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Here we go. Let's have a good semester as much as we can possibly do this. Remember, we are all in this same game together. I would rather be in the classroom. You would probably rather be in the classroom too. But this is just not what's been dealt to us. And so we're going to make the best of it. And hopefully next semester or next year, whenever it is, we'll be back to normal and everything will be cool. But eventually it will all settle. We will all look back at 2020 at some point and say, wow, that was a crazy year. You know, our great-great-grandchildren will wonder what was going on in 2020 and we'll laugh it all off. All right. Good luck.